Anything happened today? Any big news that we were rather interested? Oh, that's right. Our Prime Minister met the President of the United States. I don't know if you've heard much or anything about this. And the media, they have all lined up. Team Australia, best meeting ever.
Albo's deal-making with Donald. The White House meeting success.
The Prime Minister, he got the full red carpet treatment.
I don't think the meeting could have gone any better for Anthony Albanese.
Oh, it's almost like I've been saying that for months. The speculation that there would be some giant blow-up, well, was never going to happen. No matter what Trump knows about Australia and where Australia is right now, I pointed to the treatment that he's given to the Canadian Prime Minister, the UK Prime Minister, and plenty more. Deal was done, minerals, well done, excellent. But then, of course, we have to go way over the top as a sort of counterpoint to anyone who's ever criticised the greatest Prime Minister of all time, having to meet with the nastiest president of all time, including the former Prime Minister of Australia, again, perhaps the equal to Albanese in his greatness. I've sat with Trump in the Oval Office and I give Albanese 10 out of 10. How many stories a day do you reckon the ghost says that start this way? When I was Prime Minister in 2018, imagine how boring you would be telling a story. Oh, yeah, sorry, I should have warned you. Ghost warning. But, of course, he's out there and, you know, every other Prime Minister, but 10 out of 10, honestly, they just got so over the top. But as I said, it was so obvious, right? Now, when it came to South Africa, we were dealing with life and death issues in and around white farmers, so much so that that's when the AV presentation was rolled into the Oval Office. When it was Zelensky, we know it was back and forth about whether Zelensky was actually deferential enough to the United States, everything from how he carried himself to what he said, and there was quite the bust-up. Other than that, like 28 world leaders have come and gone. By the way, also today, and I'm not saying it's not a big thing, it is a big thing. It's a great thing that it went so well. But also today, he welcomed a basketball team in the afternoon, and at the other end of the White House, the wrecking ball literally was pulling down what is about to be replaced with a Trump-paid-for ballroom. This was a working lunch, an important, good working lunch, and they got along.
We've had a very good relationship. I think he's doing a really good job, and we've had a very good relationship. I don't want to compare one with the other, but I'll tell you, this one is, they really have a great Prime Minister.
And again, you want nothing for the best, no matter how we feel about at least one of the participants in all of this, right? Now, you know that I didn't want Anthony Albanese to win the last election, thus I didn't want him to be sitting there representing us today, but he was, which is why I cheered on the fact that he was there and I hoped that it was going to be a good meeting, all right? Sometimes you just have to be fair about these things, regardless of how sometimes you might personally feel, right? History doesn't stop because the election result doesn't go the way that you want. But I got to say, I was muttering, I was biting my tongue when the bloke who, of course, used an entire campaign to get re-elected for office was by shit-canning Peter Dutton for being too close to Donald Trump or Timu Trump or all the rest of it, or every coalition policy was too much like Trump. And we know that the majority of Australians were more than happy for that position. So to actually see this, to me, was an example of, well, the Prime Minister just not quite speaking his true feelings. And it should worry you that if he's willing to BS like this in front of a camera, imagine what he's like behind the scenes in the private meetings with the President of China or the Prime Minister of the United States.
They really have a great Prime Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll use it in my ads in 28.
But even though he apologised, even though all is forgiven, for just 1 minute, and it's the 1 minute heard around the continent and echoes to Australians far and wide, Kevin Rudd was reduced to the size of which most Australians consider him to be. You know the exchange, you've seen it before, but we must savour every second of this because while all is forgiven and I'm sorry, sir, for that 1 minute, it was good.
There's been concern in Australia that taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration, with its stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't know. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President,
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will.
So much to love, right? From firstly, just cutting him off mid-sentence. As you know, he's been practicing in front of the mirror for months and months and months about what's the form of words that I can... Just bang, not even interested. I loved that. But I also loved the idea that this bloke, who, yes, again, represents Australia and while I'm Team Australia, we all know that there are figures that are less polarising than this bloke, right? That, who is he? I don't even know. Oh, okay, like just completely... So all the strutting around, it's like, he's sitting in front of me and I don't even know who he is. But then, this might be nasty, but he said plenty of nasty things about me, so let's level it up. There was another camera in the room. This was the camera that was showing on the White House's YouTube page. And by the way, if you ever want to watch anything live that happens in the White House, you don't have to see what's happening on telly. Every event is eventually, at some point, shown live, and you'll be able to see the full footage on the YouTube page of the White House. Now, it had a camera that was set up, and it was, yes, showing the president, but it also showed who the president was talking to. Now, about the middle of the screen, just up, you will see Kevin Rudd's face. I want you to drink in every little second here and imagine what he is thinking as, after he's been put in his place, don't look angry, and how he just steal. And you know, we've seen this bloke before blowing up plenty of times, but he had to sit there and take his medicine. And yes, they apologised and everything was forgiven, but still, just for a second, if you've ever felt what most people feel like about Kevin Rudd, enjoy.
There's been concern in Australia that it's taken 9 months to get this meeting. Have you had any concerns with this administration, with its stance on Palestine, climate change, or even things the ambassador said about you in the past, the Australian ambassador?
I don't know anything about him. I mean, if he said bad, then maybe he'll like to apologize. I really don't know. Did an ambassador say something bad about him? Don't tell me. I don't know. Where is he? Is he still working for you?
Yeah.
You said bad?
Before I took this position, Mr. President,
I don't like you either. I don't, and I probably never will. Go ahead.
Oh, the looking down, just the whole lovely drawn-out moment. Spectacular to watch. Spectacular. One last bit on this. Pay attention when the same thing happens again. We'll roll a tape here, but this time I want you to have a look at the right-hand side of the screen where you'll see there's Trump and then there's Vance, who's just leaning back, okay, on the right-hand side. He cuts him off and he's just laughing. He's just laughing straight at his face. What a moment. But, of course, rather than just letting the moment be there, we had to have the Rudd defenders, right? Out and about. This was on taxpayer news services, the way that they did things at the start of today, which was to report the obvious. Donald Trump tells Kevin Rudd to his face, I don't like you. We might frame that and put that in the man cave. Can we blow that up somewhere? But then in came the defenders. Annabelle Crabb, writing on the same website a few hours later, Kevin Rudd took one for the team in the most spectacular way. And then, briefing to the journalists, US President approached Australia's ambassador to the US, Kevin Rudd, in the White House cabinet room to clear the air. Is this guy here? The President said, according to a person in the room, all is forgiven. Rudd replied in return, I apologise, Mr. President. Who do you think might have been doing that briefing? Who may well have been the source close to the moment? And one thing that I have been waiting for, and not too many TV stations put it in place, maybe they will tomorrow, maybe it's a breakfast TV thing, I was waiting for how the media, which has just been salivating for this moment for as many months, many months, despite the fact it's almost a full year since Trump became the president, the body language expert. Okay. Effusive Trump threw elbow a White House birthday party, according to a body language expert. Now, you heard what Miranda Devine had to say before about what really is going on behind the scenes, but still. Donald Trump gave Anthony Albanese free rein during their White House meeting, almost like the president was throwing him a birthday party, according to a leading body language expert. Really? So, the meeting went exactly as I predicted. Well, I had hoped for some little Rudd-esque moment. That happened. And then it's just been fun to watch people turn around and rather than just enjoying the moment for what it is, oh, we've got to build the fortress back around him because whenever they want to get further access in the United States, we've got to stay good with the ambassador, blah, blah. But I just loved it. I know plenty of people did. Thankfully, no blow-up, and the only person who copped the blow-up absolutely deserved it, and rightly so. You know how much I love Queensland, so much so that, as I often say, if I could have the blood transfusions to become a Queenslander, I would become a Queenslander. Whatever citizenship test I could ever do, I would gladly do, and I'd love to be a Queenslander, right? Spiritually, I consider myself, you get the point. I kiss the ground, I love Queensland. So I'm very pleased with the government that is in place now because the previous one was an absolute shocker, right? Remember Stephen Miles, Palaszczuk, all of that, gone, gone, gone. Well, a decision was made the past couple of days which has just been a little over-interpreted by some people, and that's cool, but it's been rather over-interpreted, about a decision which has been made for a whole bunch of regional councils, yes, that have Indigenous mayors or significant leadership to them, that they are going to end up getting a little more direct access than other council members and mayors around Queensland to get direct advice and to speak directly to ministers. The issues, by the way, housing, water and sewerage. It is not the Voice 2.0. The Victorian thing is the Voice 2.0. The state government has denied that it is akin to a move to a voice to parliament model like one rejected at the 2023 referendum. It is not clear how the process will work. To the state's 60 other councils won't get the same expedited access to ministers. Instead, they'll be dealing with layers of bureaucracy. I think that mayors should have the ability to approach ministers at the same level as a member of parliament. Right? Maybe not be able just to walk into the office whenever they want. So look, if this is a start, good. If this is in the parts of the state that really need water and sewerage being dealt with quickly, then good. And I get it and I understand why people are aggro about any concept about a Voice 2.0, but remember what we're talking about here. In fact, this is the Health Minister of the great state of Queensland.
We've signed an accord yesterday with 17 Indigenous councils. It's no voice to parliament. There's no bureaucracy. There's no attempt to put red tape or bureaucracy around it. This is a direct opportunity once a year for the leaders of Indigenous councils to talk to Cabinet.
Now, I'd like to hope that by this point in time that we've built up enough trust that I'm always honest about my life, right? I'm honest that I play pokies, I smoke, I drive loud cars, all of that stuff, right? I don't pretend to be a completely different person either on or off the air. We are who we are, and we can't have gone this long without being as open as we are. And as part of that, as I say, is playing pokies, right? Now, I know that there are many Australians who have serious problems with poker machines in this country, and I also know that the connection between the suburban club and poker machine is too big. Many of the people inside these organisations are paid too much money, and whatever original purpose about the community, a lot of people have lost their way along the way here. But at the last state election in New South Wales, there was a fork in the road choice to be made by the people of New South Wales, and they chose not the one that was being offered by the then Liberal Party. It was the then Liberal Party that was being pushed along, principally by the Sydney Morning Herald and a whole bunch of other hand-wringers, that poker machines were such a problem that we needed to introduce a new cashless system, which means every time someone like myself wants to put $100 into a poker machine, you have to go and ask somebody first, and then you won't be able to top that up for another 24 hours, and in a blue moon you can't travel through the Queen of the Night. You get my point, particularly if you know your poker machines. But the reality is that, yes, there is a problem with problem gambling, and particularly in the world of poker machines. Now, I am not going to be the person who says these things need to be ripped out of every pub and club. I'm not saying they need to be turned down. in any major way. But it's interesting to see that there might be a change coming to New South Wales after all. You see, the Greens, and I told you this story a few weeks ago, but the Greens are in a position where they are willing to discuss whether or not there should be a turn down in the trading hours when it comes to poker machines. Now, the Greens want to do this, and apparently the Christian groups have also levelled up here. The offer of support came shortly after the New South Wales Greens MLC Kate Furman announced a bill to force the closure of all poker machine venues from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. This would mean no more exemptions for pubs that want to do it late at night or clubs. We learned today via skynews.com.au that some Liberal MPs are now starting to side with the idea. During a heated shadow cabinet meeting, which was held on Monday night of this week, a number of Liberals spoke in favour of the idea that poker machines would have to shut down at midnight, regardless of whether it's a pub or club, regardless of whether it is the city or the bush, and they can't open again until 10 a.m. According to multiple sources, Lefty MP, among others, is urging the support for it because she lives in a Teal electorate and many of the, Tealy-type people don't really play their pokies late at night. But here's the thing. All of this is under the idea of harm minimisation, right? And when you've got a casino where if you want to be able to play 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can do that. That's available in Brisbane and in Sydney and in Melbourne. Lesser degrees in other places around the country. Maybe we do have to have a conversation about whether or not the pokies should be open until 4 a.m. in suburban areas. I could list you a whole collection of pubs and clubs because I'm a late night person, I know, are open until 4 o'clock in the morning. But why do they have to be open until 4 o'clock in the morning? What money is the club getting at 4 o'clock in the morning that eventually ends up in the hands of the kids? No, it's just somehow making the most of a particular time of day where, yes, a shift worker may want to play $20 here and $50 there, but the vast majority of people don't really need to be playing on a Monday through Thursday at 2 a.m. at their local. Now, I don't support what the Greens suggest, and I'm not suggesting that there needs to be any great change of laws anytime soon. But to those that have long taken for granted Australians' ability to defend the poker machines in part because of what they help fund, that was a fight that was last held back in 2010. There's been 15 years of bad publicity since, and in many ways, much of that industry does need to come forward and either start to show how it can help clean up the game, or the clubs industry specifically, which is a very big, very important lobby of which I am very receptive to because I am a club customer. But when you go through the local annual report of your local club, could somebody please tell me why the general manager of your local RSL or footy club is being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to run what is effectively becoming a suburban casino? It's not because they're handing millions of dollars to the RSL. That's broke in lots of cities. So unless they're willing to take the money they make and rather than put it into the pocket of the people who run the system, but actually find a way to put more of it into the pocket of the very reason the club exists in the first place, then maybe there is a conversation to be had at some time. We'll all have it together. Now, we're back to where we were a couple of weeks ago when it came to Optus, the problems when it came to the 000 system. You remember the great hand-wringing. Interesting opinion poll came out of apparently Optus customers. Who knows how they found them? But again, in the aforementioned hand-wringing Herald, there are about 27% of Optus customers who say after the 000 stuff they are seriously thinking about changing their telco. To be honest, that's the ultimate way you can punish any telco, which is to take your business somewhere else. But that is not the biggest story in regards to 000 and 000 that is happening right now. Can I be very clear? The 000 failures in Victoria are life and death. They have been held attributable to the deaths of a couple of dozen people over the past few years. So I'm going to keep on a failure of this government, which has been the failure to fix a system that has, as you can see, cost 33 lives. A system that as early as just a couple of days ago was breaking down where 000 dispatchers, the people who send the ambulances to the hospitals where you have to wait, but don't talk about immigration, in terms of the number of people trying to use the system, they were being forced to use pen and paper during an hours-long outage. Now, that 33 deaths, or those 33 deaths, that was the story before the last state election in Victoria, where the then Premier, Daniel Andrews, promised, along with his then Deputy Premier, Jacinta Allen, to actually fix this system. But guess what? Millions were spent on a backup 000 system that would have kicked in this week, i.e. to stop the paper and pen situation. It was quietly shelved, a bit like the Commonwealth Games plans. And who was the minister for that? Oh, that's right, Jacinta Allen. A plan to build a backup system that could have been deployed during this week's 000 technology outage was quietly scrapped, costing Victorian taxpayers millions. At the same time, a much-vaunted replacement system has been delayed, according to internal documents unions and insiders have handed over to The Age. Some 000 Victoria staff are alarmed that they will face extra fire season pressures, relying on an unstable and overloaded technology. For several years, there was a plan to build an alternative fallover system that could have been deployed. But in early 2021, at the height of the COVID business, when the work was beginning on the alternative system, guess what? It was shelved. $5.3 million spent and wasted. A system that has, in part, been held responsible for the death of 33 people has got worse. Yet where is the Prime Minister or the Communications Minister? Remember how angry they were about 24 hours of a mobile phone company. CEOs' heads must roll. People must be brought in for a solid finger waving. But because, of course, it's your Labor mates, nothing to see here. Look away, look away, look away. Well, I'm not going to, because the good people of Victoria, they deserve more. It's going to be bloody hot in parts of the country tomorrow, particularly. Basically, draw a line from a little bit north of Sydney, but basically Sydney all the way up beyond the sunny coast. Queensland, New South Wales, and if you start to consider parts of South Australia, all going to get a heat wave. Parts of Queensland, New South Wales, South Australia set to swelter over the next couple of days. Hot conditions in northern Australia mean we're going to be pushing in, October, into the high 30s and mid-40s. The good people of Sky News Weather exist, and we love them, which means they can explain why it's going to be so hot tomorrow.
Well, not only are we seeing that total burn ban and extreme fire danger given these strong winds, but we're also looking at extreme heat, which is adding to that fire danger. And we're talking record-breaking heat for the entire state. Now, we know that there were some record-breaking temperatures today, but check out what we're expecting for Wednesday. 39 degrees ahead of that cold front in Sydney. Yes, we're talking about Sydney heat in October. 39 degrees potentially ahead of that front. And then once it clears the coastline, much cooler air pushes in behind it and drops temperatures dramatically for our Thursday.
All right, enjoy it for the next few days. You have been warned, and officially I use the power vested in me under the Broadcast Services Act. It doesn't exist, nor does my power. You can wear shorts to work tomorrow. Men, women and children. Shorts to work and school tomorrow. Flip-flops abound. Now, while you've been working hard, and this on a Tuesday night means we're starting to turn the corner when you start to make money for yourself. In the meantime, what are we doing? We're all working to pay tax. And who do we spend that tax money on? Show business for ugly people. Politicians who have staff members specifically working with them to make crap like this for the internet. First.
And we need to do the boat kid or a farming Labubu to buy matcha chocolate trend so the kids can find out about free TAFE.
Trend? No, hubby. The trend is free TAFE. The trend is get online, find a TAFE course, pay no fees. That's the trend.
Another Labor MP. This is how they spent your money.
There's been over 2 million visits to urgent care clinics across Australia. And that's no small achievement thanks to our unprecedented investments in Medicare.
The tick. Don't. And then, of course, Labor senators who think tennis is the best way to waste your time on the internet.
I'm not losing to Corinne. Maybe I just hit her in the head with this.
Oh! I'm coming back, baby. It's the comeback.
Yay! Showbiz for ugly people is what they call politics, and the ugliness that is, that's how dumb they think the Australian voter is. Frustrates, right?